Lesson 3. Case Study. Reading Guide. Key Concepts. Essential Questions. Why are evaluation and testing important in the design process? How is scientific inquiry used in a real-life scientific investigation? Vocabulary. Variable. Constant. Independent variable. Dependent variable. Experimental group. Control group. Qualitative data. Quantitative data. The Minneapolis Bridge Failure. On August 1, 2007, the center section of the Interstate 35 West, I-35 West, bridge in Minneapolis, Minnesota, suddenly collapsed. A major portion of the bridge fell more than 30 meters into the Mississippi River, as shown in Figure 7. There were more than 100 cars and trucks on the bridge at the time, including a school bus carrying over 50 students. The failure of this 8-lane, 581-meter-long interstate bridge came as a surprise to almost everyone. Drivers do not expect a bridge to drop out from underneath them. The design and engineering processes that bridges undergo are supposed to ensure that bridge failures do not happen. Controlled experiments. After the 2007 bridge collapse, investigators had to determine why the bridge failed. To do this, they needed to use scientific inquiry, which you read about in Lesson 1. The investigators designed controlled experiments to help them answer questions and test their hypotheses. A controlled experiment is a scientific investigation that tests how one factor affects another. You might conduct controlled experiments to help discover answers to questions, to test a hypothesis, or to collect data. Identifying variables and constants. When conducting an experiment, you must identify factors that can affect the experiment's outcome. A variable is any factor that can have more than one value. In controlled experiments, there are two kinds of variables. The independent variable is the factor that you want to test. It is changed by the investigator to observe how it affects a dependent variable. The dependent variable is the factor you observe or measure during an experiment. Constants are the factors in an experiment that do not change. Experimental groups. A controlled experiment usually has at least two groups. The experimental group is used to study how a change in the independent variable changes the dependent variable. The control group contains the same factors as the experimental group, but the independent variable is not changed. Without a control, it is impossible to know whether your experimental observations result from the variable you are testing or some other factor. This case study will explore how the investigators used scientific inquiry to determine why the bridge collapsed. Notebooks in the margin identify what a scientist might write in a science journal. The blue boxes contain additional helpful information that you might use. Simple beam bridges. Before you read about the bridge collapse investigation, think about the structure of bridges. The simplest type of bridge is a beam bridge, as shown in Figure 8. This type of bridge has one horizontal beam across two supports. A beam bridge often is constructed across small creeks. A disadvantage of beam bridges is that they tend to sag in the middle if they are too long. Truss bridges. A truss bridge, shown in Figure 9, often spans long distances. Truss bridges. A truss bridge, shown in Figure 9, often spans long distances. This type of bridge is supported only at its ends, but an assembly of interconnected or truss strengthens it. The I-35 West Bridge, shown in Figure 10, was a truss bridge designed in the early 1960s. The I-35 West Bridge was designed with straight beams connected to triangular and vertical supports. These supports held up the deck of the bridge, or the roadway. The beams in the bridge's deck and the supports came together at structures known as gusset plates, shown below on the right. These steel plates joined the triangular and vertical truss elements to the overhead roadway beams. These beams ran along the deck of the bridge. This area, where the truss structure connects to the roadway portion of the bridge at a gusset plate, also is called a node. Reading check. What are the gusset plates of a bridge?